Hi, I'm Lois Sonstegard, and I'm so glad to have you with us on this training. You know, there's so many things that we get caught up in our day-to-day world, and then one day we wake up and we say, what's happened to our career? How am I building my leadership sphere, and how am I influencing people? Will it get me where I want to get? And that's a big question that I hear so many people, not only at the lower or entry level of work, but also in the mid-level and even in the C-suite. They have maybe worked and worked and worked. Maybe you're one of them, and you've gotten to the point where you feel like you've given everything, and now what? You're not sure that there's loyalty behind you. You're not sure that there's loyalty above you, and you're struggling. What is it that I'm going to do? And how am I going to really be able to be successful, have the success that I want, that I feel like I have within me, but I need to let it out. How do I do that? And so that's what this training is all about. It's to allow you to absolutely have as many tools as you can possibly have so you can be successful. I want you to be successful. I want you to be passionate about your work. I want you to be able to go and really make a difference just the way you want to, and to have your voice heard, and to know how to communicate that so people within the organization can actually notice you, listen, and appreciate by your contribution. Our job is to sell it, and if we don't sell it correctly or appropriately, it won't be bought. So I want to go in this video over 7 keys to leadership success in building your career. So here's the first. What's your goal? Do you know what your goal is for you? I think so many times we segment our lives between what our work goal is and our life goal. And those are really a part of a continuum, aren't they? We don't show up and have work and then suddenly turn a switch, become a different person, and have life. Actually, some people do that, and they pay a high price for it. So I like to think of our work life as being on a continuum. What's our goal for all of that? It needs to fit together. And somehow, whatever it is that we're planning, it needs to be a congruent goal that's consistent with what it is that we want our life to be. Secondly, know what your strengths are. Be aware of them. One of the things that I am often so amazed at is people will have gone through work. They've had so many messages about who they are, maybe who they haven't been. Maybe they could have been more of this or more of that. And school, our education process, talks about fixing all the things that don't work in our life, right? And so we have this long list, a laundry list of what we need to fix and work on. And as a result, many times we don't know what our strengths are, and so we don't play into our strengths and use them. We don't use them to bring up our weaknesses and to fix those things that need to be fixed. The third key to success as a leader in building your career is to be responsible for your own life. You know, many times we think that people at work, our boss, the people around are really responsible for what's next. We need to know where we're wanting to go. We need to communicate that. Let me give you a really good example. It's an entry-level example, but I think it's so good in many ways in terms of how it is that we approach work. 2 friends, one had a daughter, one had a son. They both went to one of the big 4 accounting firms. In the first year, you get to be slave labor. You get to do all the little jobs that nobody really wants to do. And one of them in many of those accounting firms is to go get coffee for the directors, the managers, whoever. And so both in 2 different companies were being asked to go get the coffee for the group. They go off to the coffee shop, come back with their carries with all the coffee. My friend who had the daughter was really miffed. Don't they realize that they're misusing me as a woman? This is sexual discrimination, she thought. And that attitude reflected in her behavior. And within a year, she was one of the people that left. The other friend who had a son in the big accounting firm went and got the coffee and said, "What an opportunity. I can now go give the coffee to each of the managers and directors and say, what project are you working on? How can I help you? Is there any way I can fit into that?" You see, that person was pre-selling themselves for their next job. They were already getting the promotion in line. And so I think many times what we don't think about is, what is it that we're doing to set ourselves up for the next level? We're responsible for determining that and developing it. It is not the company's job to do that. I think the fourth key to success, it's the fifth key, is the ability to listen. If you can't listen, you're going to have trouble. Listening is the key to understanding, to integrating, to developing teamwork, to reflecting back. Did I understand this correctly, right? And so many times we're in a hurry, we're running, we're doing what we need to do as fast as we can. And it comes to listening and we assume what the person is saying. We assume what the intent is. We assume that it's clear. And then we wake up and we discover there may be huge gaps between what it is that we're thinking and what it is that is needed and desired. So developing that ability to listen. And one of the things that we're hearing from millennials is that they really want somebody who cares, who listens, asks them questions. How are you? What's going on at home? How connected are you in the community? They want that sense of being cared about as a human being, and they want that life balance integration, life work integration that many of us want. We just don't talk about it. Fifth, measure. Where are there perception gaps? That's what you need to measure. Is there a perception gap between me and my colleagues? What are they thinking? How are they feeling about what I'm doing and how I'm doing this team work or project? How about my boss? How is he or she perceiving? And we have in our complex organizations sometimes many bosses. So what are each of their perceptions? Do you know? Are you measuring it? The key is we need to be shrinking that perception gap continually. If we don't, that gap will broaden, and at some point we will have difficulty with communication, with listening, with being heard, with being able to use our strengths to do what we want to do and then to accomplish our goals. So listening becomes huge as part of dealing with our perception gap. Everybody has one. No one is exempted. No matter how perfect you are as a human being, there is a perception gap because we're different human beings. We come into a situation with different feelings, needs, wants. And so as a result, there's a perception and there's a perception gap for every one of us. And we need to be on top of it. And the only way that you can really know is that shrinking is if you measure it. And so one of the things that we're going to talk about is later on will be, how can you measure it? How do you do that consistently so you can really know that you're making a difference? Then the last one is, are you taking time to fully onboard your new employees and integrating them into your team and into your system? I asked a manager that one day. She was feeling a bit overwhelmed with all of the things that were going on and feeling that people underneath or within her team weren't responding quite the way she thought that they should be responding. And I said, what's your onboarding process? Do you have a system that allows you to know how to coach for that individual's specific needs for about a year? Because it takes us about a year to really fully onboard people. She looked at me and she said, no, does such a thing exist? And I said, well, actually it does exist. And it makes a huge difference, because you see what happens when we have a new person come on board. The manager is busy, the new employee is busy taking in everything they can. And often it takes 6 months for the manager to really assess what are the needs of the new employee. 6 months can be too late to really be able to reach in and to make a difference. We're finding that many people are leaving before that 6-month period because they're frustrated, they're feeling overwhelmed, they feel like no one cares. Isn't anybody going to show me what I need to do and learn? And they may be wonderfully skilled people, just not onboarded. So those are my 7 keys to leadership success and to building your career. I hope that they have been helpful to you. We have a series of 4 keys that I'm going to unlock in this free webinar session for you in this master class. And so please enjoy them. They're here for you. They will be accompanied with worksheets. Take the time, please, to fill out the worksheets. Think about them. Pause. This is your time to really look at, how am I going to succeed, master this leadership game, and build my career. So I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks so much.